All right, hey, what's up, guys? It's Ben. Today I'm coming at you with another video. This time I'm going to be talking about the Electoral College, right? And I know that's not very legible, but anyways, why it's important, right? And I think this is the easiest. I really want to get to the meat of it because a lot of people can talk about the Electoral College and how it functions. I'm not going to go into the specifics because that's not the point of this. I think just people sometimes have a hard time articulating it, and it is a very complicated system in some extent. Then again, I mean, it also kind of is not, but it also kind of is, and it can be hard to explain it and why it's there and why we have it, right? And why our founding fathers thought it was a good idea, right? Well, so let's just take a look. So I drew three things here, right? And I'm gonna real quick draw something else just to make it more apparent, right? There's a door. Anyways, so let's look at it. So you got three different types of areas. I mean, there technically are probably more, but what you're looking at is you got rural, right here, and then you have suburban, right, and then you have urban, city, right? So here's the thing with the Electoral College. Right, and so when you got a map of the U.S., and I know I'm not going to draw this right, but anyways, you'll probably get it to where it looks legibly like the United States. That doesn't actually look as bad as I thought it would. It's really scribbly, but anyways, so you got the United States right here, okay, the USA. So this would be better if I'm going to try to draw a bigger one real quick, right? I really should have done this before, so I didn't have a whole bunch of time spared. But anyways, draw a quick map. Just so I can make this as an example, right? Okay, so generally speaking, that's the United States, right? And so here's the thing about the Electoral College, right? So let's say you don't have the Electoral College. You just go off popular vote, right? What you're going to do is you're going to campaign as a presidential candidate. You're going to campaign up in here, and then you're maybe campaign down here if you want to. You're going to campaign around there in Chicago, right? Big city. Go down to Houston. And I know that's not right because then you got the Gulf and whatever. Never mind. So Houston, right? And then maybe you go to Phoenix because it's a real big city, somewhere on there. And then up and down here, you're going to hit California, right? LA and the whole 9 yards. And then that's it. And you don't care about anything else. Why? Because the most bang for your buck comes from the urban areas. You're going to get the most amount of people to vote in those areas, right? And say you're going to be able to do a campaign event and have thousands and thousands of people, and you're not going to have to travel as much, and it's going to be the most efficient, and then you could just speak to the issues in that area, right? You don't have to care about anything else. You don't have to tread a line so you don't lose your followers because you can just worry about the issues that affect the city people, right? And you don't really have to care about... Okay. Anyways, so right here, right? And so you don't have to care about these people because you can get all your voters up in here. And so what the Electoral College does is, so it has representation based off of population. So it's not like California doesn't get a bigger vote than Montana. Right? They do. It's just that it shrinks it down to more of it's almost kind of a percentage, not percentage, but it's kind of the representation per population, right? So that then, right, you can't just dig into a never-ending pile of people in a big city, right? You actually have to care about here. And so then, let's go back to this, right? Real quick, let's go back to this, right? To this map, okay? So then, you pretty much have to campaign all up in here, right? I mean, realistically, you can pick and choose what you want, but you campaign all up in here because you need those states to win, right? You have to campaign to the whole country. you have to speak to the whole country. You have to want to fight for the whole country, right? Which, whether or not politicians actually do that when they get in office is another conversation. But that's the whole point, is that, like, that's really what it comes down to. And what I've seen is, like, in my head, what makes the most sense of why the Electoral College exists is because this is then covered, right? You can't just win off of big cities, right? But you can't ignore them either, right? You can't. You need them, right? And just like you need rural and urban areas. So it makes it to where more voices are heard because the candidates for presidency have to pay attention to everything. Otherwise, they lose. And their example of that, I believe Hillary Clinton, when she lost the Electoral College vote to Trump in 2016, right? That was her issue, right? In 2016. I don't think she went after specific areas and didn't target enough and didn't reach out to the whole country, and she got burned. Right? She was riding off of the establishment of the Democratic Party and Trump being a loudmouth outsider who was very polarizing and didn't always talk nice to people, right? But he reached out to America across the country, right? She used establishment position and he didn't. He went for everything, which he didn't have it. Right? I mean, technically he did with the Republican Party, but he was a newer candidate and he was very divisive. And there were plenty of other candidates that were kind of fighting and people that the Republican Party really liked. And so then that created even more division, right? And the people less likely to vote for him, but it still worked and he was able to win that way. And then it's not completely crap either, right? Because Trump did in 2024, right? He won the popular vote, right? And he won. Straight up, he won it. And so it doesn't completely just like give the Republican Party a pass to win out of nothing, right? And also on top of that, I mean, realistically, you know, having more than two parties would be better. And I wish that would be the case. But for whatever reason, Americans don't vote like that. And so this is just something I want people to understand, right? That this is why. It's so that you have to pay attention to everybody. And right, and so you have to vote, like you have to campaign to New York, right, in the Eastern, right? Because you need their votes. But you also need Indiana's or Montana's or Wyoming. And I mean, technically you could say that you don't, because some of the states, like I think it's Wyoming or Montana, they have like 3 votes. But still, right, their vote is now weighted more so that then it's like, oh, hey, we in Wyoming actually matter. If we vote the opposite direction of somebody, we can technically influence the election. Now, likely it's not, but it's a better chance than doing a raw popular vote, right? And that's why it's important. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Please like, comment what you thought of this video, comment what you thought of what I was talking about, and subscribe. I'll see y'all later.